The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We're so thrilled to have on the show the lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist for the hit rock band Collective Soul, Ed Roland. Ed, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Eric. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me.
You know what? It's like I've been such a fan of Collective Soul over the years, and you guys are still doing great music on a huge tour right now with Hootie and the Blowfish also. But just this past May, you released a double LP, 20 songs, Here to Eternity. You got to tell me how this came together, because there's so many incredible songs in this, and you've already got 8 #1 hits with Collective Soul. How did this new album come together? And you got to tell me about Elvis's house also.
Well, it started with my brother who's in the band, my younger brother. He was like, we've never recorded west of the Mississippi. And I was like, you know what? You're right. We always record in homes in the Southeast. We rent homes. We kind of have that romantic ideology of like the Stones and Zeppelin, where you just rent a house and you just be a part of the community too. It kind of inspires us a little bit. And I was like, that's cool. And I had about 5-6 years ago met the men that owned Elvis Presley's estate in Palm Springs. And he had spent his last Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthday, and he did his last 3 records there. So it was acoustically treated, you know, which we really don't care, because we're just in a house and a rock and roll band. We're like, put the mics up, let's go. So I called him and I said, hey, can we come out? This was January of 2023. I said, can we just have the place for a month? They were like, of course, there's nothing there. Like nobody had lived there since Elvis passed in 77, I guess. So I was like, guys, we're going to Palm Springs and we're going to record in Elvis's house. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah. So we staged it. We put furniture in there. I slept in Elvis's bedroom, which I'm the first man I know for a fact that slept in Elvis's bedroom since he's been passed. And then we put the control room in Lisa Marie's room, which is adjacent to the main recording room we used. Yeah. And then we're old school. We set the drums up and we horseshoe around Johnny, our drummer Johnny, and we horseshoe around. And I came out there with 12 songs, and literally we're so excited, and guys are just unbelievable musicians. They did it in 4 days. And I was like, well, we still have 3 weeks to go here, guys. Why don't y'all take a long 4-day weekend, go to Joshua Tree or Palm Desert, whatever you want to do. Just go away for 4 days. So I had I'm a vinyl guy. I love vinyl. I have 5,000-6,000 of them. And I had my vinyl shipped out in a record player in they called it Elvis's party room. Yeah. So I just sat there for 4 days, listened to all my heroes, and wrote 10 more songs. I was like, this is awesome.
Well, you know, and I got to tell you too, Ed, listen to this album, which it's such a great body of work, especially, which I can't believe, for the 30th anniversary of Collective Soul, since you guys really launched, you know, your first album in '94, even though you started in '92. But it's like I was telling you before we started the interview, Ed, I can really hear your influences in this album, you know, with you and Dean on this, to where, you know, I can hear the David Bowie influences. I can hear the Elton John, the Tom Petty. I mean, just, you know, but it's all Collective Soul. I mean, even when you've got piano parts in here and you've got songs that are kind of more Americana, it always remains true to Collective Soul sound, to where, you know, you end up with some crunchy guitars, but you also, I mean, like Bob Dylan, you know, the Bob Dylan song that you guys have on here is just so incredible.
Thank you so much. That's and to be able to record it live at the Ryman Theater was get you.
Right. I mean, you recorded at the Mother Church.
We didn't even know we recorded it that night. You know, we were just playing, and our Fern, our front of house, was like, I recorded that tonight. I was like, we need that on the record. I just want people to hear that. It was just, and for me personally, selfishly, to be able to sing at the Ryman and to have something recorded there is kind of special to me.
Well, you know, and I think what's great too, and a testament to you and the band, Ed, is that with Here to Eternity, is that, you know, you guys could easily rest on your laurels, you know, with 11 studio albums, 8 #1 hits. You know, you and I were talking about, you know, Shine and Heavy, Where the River Flows, all these great songs that you guys have had, but also be able to introduce new songs in when you're out on a giant tour like this. And it has to keep you and the band fun and interested and invigorated to be able to do this.
Well, an interesting band in general because not only do we like each other, we love each other. Like we like being around each other. And one of the recording, I have to write songs anyway. That's just part of who I am. So I write, but we as a band have to be with each other and create together. Just because I write the song doesn't mean it's like just to have their energy. And I call it their fairy dust on the songs, their arrangements. It's just so much fun to be around these cats. It's like going to camp when you were 10 years old as a boy. You know, you just go in there and you just have the time of your life, and something magical happens, I guess. If it's magical, whatever, people may or may not like it. We like it. So can't expect anybody else to like it if we don't. So we just have fun, and we just, like I said, we're still 16-year-old kids.
But I mean, I think that's what's fun about the band is that, you know, it's like with all of the different instrumentation, like we were talking, you know, some of the songs, you know, opening up with, you know, I noticed on a few of them to where the bass was actually playing the melody, you
Correct.
know, which you don't typically hear. But I think, you know, with Collective Soul, you know, you and your band are always willing to experiment, you know, like opening up with more of the piano on a few songs and just it's not rote. You know what I mean? It's not just resting on the laurels of Collective Soul's past history.
Well, once again, I go back to like us as a band. We all grew up together. I mean, they're much younger than I am, 10 years younger than I am. But, you know, I've known them since they were born. Like, I think there's no egos. So you talk about a bass. I'm like, I'm not afraid to go, hey, I'm not playing the rock riff, or Jesse's not going to play the rock riff. Hey, Will, why don't you intro it with a bass?
Right.
You know, like it's fun, and it keeps your mind flowing a little bit. If that makes sense. The creative juice is flowing a little bit.
Well, you know, and I got to bring this up too. Obviously, with the many incarnation of the bands that you guys had over the years, and so how did you go from the name Brothers and Brides to Collective Soul, which I would say Collective Soul, you made a better choice?
Well, nobody knows this. This is the first time I ever said this. So, Brothers and Brides. I was reading a book. I think it was called Brothers and Brides. I can't remember. It was when I first started reading a lot. And Will, our bass player, still in the band, and Shane, who was the original drummer, were best friends. So, and Dean was in the band. So I was like, Will, you and Shane go get married real quick, and we'll call it Brothers and Brides. And it was just a joke because they were thick as thieves. They never left each other's side. I was like, it makes perfect sense. So I think we did one show under Brothers and Brides, and they shut me down pretty quick on that. They were like, nah, I don't think so.
You know what I found so interesting though, Ed, was that, you know, once again, prepping to interview you for today, to where, you know, originally when you came up with all the songs, and as you mentioned, you know, you love to write songs, continually write, but that the original concept was to sell these songs to a publisher, not to form a band, right?
Correct. I did all these. The first record was a collection of demos I did in a basement on an 8-track. And I mean, I remember when we got signed, I didn't have a band. I mean, my brother and Will were in a frat band. I said, man, Album 88, which played us in Georgia State radio, it's a big deal. And they called us and they were like, Shawn's blowing up. Can y'all play the Christmas party for us? I was like, sure. And then I picked the phone up and go, I don't have a band. So I called my brother and was like, just learn 3 songs for me and y'all can play. So I think our first gig, we played Shawn 6 times and 3 other songs.
Ah, that's awesome. I'm so done that. It's like going, keep playing that one song they like. It's a Buddy Holly. Keep playing it.
Keep playing it. I mean, and they loved it each time. We kept going. And that's when we kind of figured out, like, what's going on? I mean, we didn't have a record deal or anything. And the song started charting, and we were just like, what is going on? And of course, they were 20 years old, and they're like, what did you do, Ed? I was like, I don't know.
You know, but also, Ed, to share that story, you know, to where, you know, what happened with Shine, you know, as you and I both know, is that the radio stations started playing that single. And that's really what kind of catapulted you guys to where then Atlanta Records go, hey, I think we need to, you know, bring these guys on.
It happened that quickly. Like, literally, I'll never forget my manager. I went home. He actually sent me home. He quit, my manager, first manager. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And I went home to Mom and Dad's house, and all the boys were over there playing basketball. And the phone rings. It's my manager who had just quit, who now rehired himself back. Because 5 major labels called. He goes, we're going with Atlantic Records. I'm like, what broke loose? What's going on? He goes, like, literally had 5 calls. that after for my ride from Buckhead to Stockbridge, Georgia. And he goes, "We're going to Atlantic Records. They called first." I was like, "Is that how we do business? Who calls first is what we get here." Like it's, but it was just, we were that naive and we're excited. I'll never forget. I hung the phone up. My mom's sitting there, and most supportive, wonderful woman on the planet. And I said, "We just got signed." And she fell to her knees crying. And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go play basketball with the boys. we'll just figure it out after that."
That is amazing. And your dad was a minister.
Correct. My mom played piano in the church. My dad was the minister. He started off as a minister of music. So I grew up in music. Music was just my calling. That's the only thing I mean, my earliest memory is, I call my dad, warming up for his gig, man. And then I think later on in life, I was like, I like his pulpit. I like his lights. They're cool. Sound system's all right. I want a bigger sound system. I want brighter lights, and I want a bigger stage.
I think you've accomplished that, Ed. I said, I think you've accomplished that,
Yeah, he'd be proud. He got to see it, for 10 years of our career, and he was the most excited. He had a time watching it. He was a cool Christmas minister, man. The first concert he ever took me to see was Johnny Cash in Dallas, Texas. The second, believe this or not, was Liberace. The third was the Kinks. He just loved, I guess back in the day they called it secular music, I guess.
Right.
And then he took me to see Elton John, and at that point I was like, all right, I'm doing this now.
How incredible. I mean, but what a great way to inform your music. And I was going to bring up too, to where some viewers may not realize that you studied at Berkeley.
Correct.
I mean, so I mean, you were musically trained.
I tried to, I got there and they were so musically trained and I wasn't, because Stockbridge there wasn't a lot of musicians there. That's why I went to Boston, because I, read where some of the artists in Steely Dan and the Cars went. I was like, I want to be around musicians. Right. And as soon as I got there, I realized I'm not the guitar player I thought I was. These cats were awesome. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to write songs and see if I can get away with it that way.
Well, I think you have very well. And, I always enjoy your guitar work too, Ed, whether it's playing more of the heavier guitar parts, or I also enjoy, when you grab one of the acoustics and play 12 strings. I think obviously we've got to ask, going out on this massive tour with Hootie and the Blowfish, are you going to be bringing any special new guitars out for this? I
am. I love that. My neighbor, I think you and I talked about this before. I have about more than 350 guitars. So my wife kept having them shipped to my house, and she's like, "How many guitars do you need?" And I was like, I'm done, sweetie. I'm done. I promise I won't get another guitar. So I called my neighbor and I said, "Dude, I'm going to start shipping the guitars over to your house. You meet me at 10 o'clock at night in the backyard, and we'll exchange," because she won't know 350 from 351 or however many I have now. So I hope she doesn't see this, give my secret away. But I ship them to my neighbor's house.
So you've got to take some new ones, and I don't know if you're being endorsed by any of these guitar companies now, but it seems like only fitting that you have to take a few more new ones out on a tour this big.
I do. I'll tell you what, my acoustic now is Breedlove. Make the best guitars, US made. They're out of Bend, Oregon. And just a great company, and just been sweet to me. And I didn't ask for an endorsement. I'm one of those cats, and they were like, take it. I was like, well, I need to endorse you if you keep giving me these wonderful guitars. And all these artists that I play with, they're always going, "What guitars?" I was like, it's called Breedlove. And I love the title, I love their spirituality, their hippiness. I'm all about peace and love, man. And they shine that on their guitars to me. And I love it. So yeah, I got some new ones I'm excited to show.
I can't wait to see and hear them out on tour. I wanted to bring up too, Ed, for our viewers, because obviously with Here to Eternity coming out this past May, and I know it's going to be out on vinyl, which I think you need to own this on vinyl. And although a lot of us listen on digital, the vinyl experience, having the album, having the pictures and the images, look at that. Just so much.
I love vinyl.
And so obviously, if they go through the Collective Soul website and stuff, I'm sure they can get like the autograph copies possibly, right? Or on tour?
Correct. Both, I hope. I mean, we sat in line like military getting their chow, signing a lot of albums and CDs.
But also, don't you think, Ed, that's how you guys have really built the huge following internationally that Collective Soul has achieved through the years?
I do. I think we're very approachable to a fault at sometimes, but once again, we feel blessed every day. But every show, we sit there and hug each other. High five. We literally sit there and just go, "How did we get? This is fun. This is fun." And hopefully, it shows on the stage, which I think it does. And I think people go, "They're having fun. I'm going to have fun with those cats."
Mm-hmm. Speaking of having fun, I got to bring this up too. You had a couple guests on the album, including Peter Stroud and Mickey Thomas from Jefferson Starship. How did you end up with those guys on the album?
Well, Peter, we're based in Atlanta, so Peter's here, and he's Sheryl Crow's band director, and we actually call him the sixth honorary member of Collective Soul. He's played on a lot with us, and I always do it to Peter. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm home. You home?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm home." I said, "Let's go get a slice of pizza or something." And I said, "Make sure you put a guitar in there just in case want to jam." He fell for it 2 times. Now he's like, "Ed, just tell me you want me to come over and play on the tracks." Yeah. It was great. And Mickey lives in Palm Springs. Yeah. So we got to meet him a couple of years ago, and he's a Georgia boy too, so we get to share his Georgia stories. And I tell him all the time how I was camping with my cousin and Fooled Around and Fell in Love came in. We had the AM, battery radio while we're camping out, and I said, "That song, your voice truly changed my life." First, it made me realize I'll never sound anything like you because you're unbelievable. So I had to find my own voice. Second, it was just one of those moving moments in a youth, a 12-year-old kid. And then we were in Palm Springs and we were having lunch one day, and Brian Ray from Paul McCartney's band walked in, and I've gotten to meet him a couple of times going to Paul's shows. I was like, "Brian, what are you doing here?" He goes, "I live here." "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "We're recording Elvis's house." He goes, "Oh, that's cool." I say, "Hey, man, you want to come over and have a drink, cup of tea, coffee or something?" He goes, "Man, I'd love to. I'd love to come over and hang out with you guys." I was like, "Okay, what guitar are you going to bring?"
You've got a method down, Ed, and I think it's working.
I hope this doesn't go out too far. I don't want my secrets out.
But it's great to have that extra talent come in, particularly when you're in such a historical place. And while you're recording the album there at Elvis and Priscilla's house, Lisa Marie passed away at that time also.
Yeah, that was it's a sad moment when anybody passes, but to be sitting, the control room was in her bedroom, and somebody came in and said, Lisa Marie passed, and we were like, "What?" And then we just kind of got up, went in, got a beer, just kind of talking about Elvis, we're in his home, her home.
Right.
Walked back in the bedroom, and the ceiling had crashed in on all our stuff. So it was just a spooky moment. I don't want to say spooky, but just spiritual, whatever. It was like, she was, and, being silly Southern boys, we're like, she may not like the music we're doing here.
I don't think that was it.
We might have to redo the whole record, boys. This is a sign from the above or something. I don't know. But it was really sweet to see people. Like the next morning, we were awakened with people out there, singing Elvis tunes in her honor, and it was great. And us being Southern boys, they never thought. I was like, "Y'all just come on in. We're recording. Be as quiet as you can. We don't care if you make a noise here or there." And they got to walk around and see Elvis's house and see Lisa Marie's room. It was kind of a cool vibe that we allowed that, because people came up all the time before that and take pictures. And like I said, I'd just say, "Hey, I want to come in, check out Elvis's house." And I met some interesting people. It's a good way to meet interesting people, I should say.
That is so incredible. Well, I want to make sure too, for our viewers, Ed, with the website, with social media, obviously to come out and see you guys on tour with Hootie and the Blowfish, and I understand there might be some golfing in between. What website and social media do our viewers need to go to, Ed?
Do you not realize I'm the lead singer? I don't know any of that stuff.
I'm going to say, if they search Collective Soul, they can find it.
Just say Collective Soul, I guess. I don't know. Like, dude, I'm a vinyl man. I write with pen and paper. Look. pencil and paper right here. I'm old school, pencil and paper.
I'm all for it. I mean, but and so then what's your handicap, as you're preparing for the golf tour also?
Oh, it's high because I'm taking Darius and Mark's money. I went and played. I hadn't even changed from playing golf yesterday. I'm taking their money. It's up there.
So you're saying that this is going to be a lucrative tour then for Collective Soul?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, however you consume music, whether through digital platforms, I know you're already listening to Collective Soul and their 8 #1 hits and so many other great songs too that even weren't hits. But check out the new album, Here to Eternity, that's out now, but also get it on vinyl. Go see these guys live. Ed, Roland, Collective Soul, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, come see us with Hootie and Owen McCain. It's going to be a great fun time.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.